Hi, good evening, everyone. Teng Boo here, Teng Boo from Capital Dynamics. I'm recording this in Jakarta, Indonesia. And if those of you who observe, this will be my second recording from Jakarta this year. In fact, this is my second trip to Jakarta in 2023. It is a research trip. Previously, we talked to different local people, different companies, and so on. The same this time, we met with some friends, some local contacts, local Indonesians, Malaysians who have been here for many years, visit some of the companies for research purposes. And I can say that each time I come to Indonesia, I become more optimistic. We are Malaysians, so I'm speaking as a Malaysian. The question that some of us are thinking quietly or aloud is whether in the next 10, 20 years, Indonesia will get ahead of Malaysia again, whether 20 years from now, Malaysians will be migrating to Indonesia to look for work. You know, the minimum wage, let's say, for example, if you compare in Jakarta, around the Jakarta region, in US dollar terms, they are more or less the same as our minimum wage in Malaysia. Now that is a huge achievement because the gross national income per capita of Indonesia, of Malaysia, is much higher than those of Indonesia in US dollar terms. Say for example, in 2022, the gross national income of Malaysia in US dollar terms is about 11,780 US dollars. Indonesia in the same year was about 4,580 US dollars. So Malaysia's gross national income per capita is about 2.57 times higher than that of Indonesia. That's in 2022. But yet the minimum wage in Jakarta is more or less the same, or sometimes higher than Malaysia, depending on exchange rates. Now, talking about GNI per capita, gross national income per capita, that tells an even more amazing story about how much Indonesia has progressed or how much Malaysia has fallen behind. In 1999, during the tail end of the Asian crisis, Malaysia's GNI per capita was about 6 times that of Indonesia, 6 times, 600% larger. We were having about 3,430 US dollars. Indonesia was only 570 US dollars. So from a GNI per capita which is 6 times higher than Indonesia about 24 years ago, the gap between Malaysia and Indonesia has narrowed from 6 times larger. In 2022, Malaysia is only about 2.57 times higher than Indonesia. So obviously, the Indonesian economy, in terms of the GNI per capita, has performed much better than Malaysia. And Indonesia has not only outperformed Malaysia, but Indonesia on the same measurement, GNI per capita, has gone ahead of India. In 1999, Indonesia's GNI per capita was about 1.29 times higher than India. By 2022, even though the Western media loves to tell you that India is one of the fastest growing economies in the world and India has got such huge potential, but by 2022, Indonesia has gone ahead. Indonesia's GNI per capita has widened to 1.92 times that of India's GNI per capita. So whether it's comparing with Malaysia, you could say that our GDP growth has been slow, or comparing with India, where you could say that GDP growth has been high and robust, Indonesia has outperformed these two economies. So if Indonesia can outperform India over the last 20 odd years, and Malaysia over the last 20 odd years. The question now is, in the next 10, 20 years, will Indonesia outperform Malaysia even more? I think the key question is, as for both Malaysia and Indonesia, and even India as well, is political stability. As I mentioned in my past broadcasts, my past videos, Indonesia has enjoyed 20 years of political stability. Ever since SBY became president in 2004 up to now, Indonesia has not seen the political turmoil that has gripped Thailand, Malaysia, Philippines, and for that matter, even ahead of India. 20 years of political stability is a major achievement for a young democracy like Indonesia. Now, as I talk to you, it's December. So by February next year, 2024, we will know, because Indonesia is having their general election, and we will know whether Indonesia will enjoy another 5 to 10 years of political stability. Because if the Indonesians choose wisely and able to produce a president that can achieve political stability over the next 5 to 10 years, can you imagine in the next 10 years how much Indonesia can achieve for their economy, right? And I think what is interesting as we talk to the local people, the local Indonesians and the Malaysians who work here, is that the coming 2024 election, first thing is it's going to be a rather peaceful one, because there's no kind of extremist type of positions by the three candidates, Prabowo, Ganjar, and Anies. Right? All of them are talking about promoting the national interest of Indonesia. So the local Indonesians that we talk to, some are in favor of Ganjar, some prefer Anies, some prefer Prabowo for different reasons, right? But what is interesting is that all of them sort of come to agree that whoever becomes the next president of Indonesia, there will be political stability. So in a way, it doesn't really matter, because the end result will be stability and a president that will be able to try to achieve national objectives. And the other crucial thing about Indonesia compared with, say, Malaysia, is that they have good choices. They have got three good possible candidates for 2024 general election, which, for example, in the case of Malaysia, we don't really have. So I think my sense is that, having talked to the people when I came the first time this year, I also talked about the general election. I also talked to them again. I read, for example, the Indonesian newspaper every day, and I have the sense that Indonesia is on a path of no return, a path of sustained growth and development that would be very hard to reverse. And you know, Indonesia has the scale, it's got a population, it's got massive resources, it's got very talented people, it's got huge potential, right? And like, for example, we talked to a Malaysian company that's been operating, is a manufacturing company operating in Indonesia for more than 20 years. They are extremely happy with the Indonesian workers. They told us, which we found very impressive, they have zero turnover rate, zero. The workers are hardworking, very disciplined, and good, easy to train, very easy to manage. And these Malaysians who have been here managing the factories here, actually they're happy. They don't want to go back to Malaysia, which was pretty surprising. So I'm hearing from different sources, right? We visited quite a number of Indonesian companies, most of them listed on the stock exchange. None of them have any concerns with what politics will hold, what will be their political future. None of them. And the discussion that we had with them went on very rational, on a very rational basis. Whether you agree or disagree, it was debated in a very rational manner. That is something I think which I haven't experienced in Malaysia for a long time. It was not, what I'm saying is not ideological, where if it's ideological, then you push yourself into extreme positions. Here, they can accept the differences and so on. At the end of the day, they say, look, we must have a president who can take care of national interests. And when we asked them, would you want the high-speed rail from Jakarta to Bandung, would you want it to be extended all the way to East Java to Surabaya? All the local Indonesians said yes immediately. They were very happy with the project. Very different from what you read in the Western media. That, you know, the high-speed rail is another dead trap. There are no benefits to Indonesia. It's a wrong project. So when you talk to local people, they say, look, it's extremely popular. The frequency per day has, I think, more than doubled. It's very popular, and they want it to be extended. And talking about that, I think all of us are aware, know that the biggest obstacle facing Indonesia's explosion into high growth is infrastructure. Now Malaysia has been trying to build this highway, that highway for quite some time. And unknown to most people, Indonesia has got quite a number of major infrastructure which hasn't been highlighted. There is the Trans-Sumatra Highway, all the way from the north. It's under construction. It's due for completion either 2024 or 2025. I think by now, more than 60% have been completed. It's very long. It's 2,800 kilometers. It runs the entire length of Sumatra, from Aceh in the north down to really the southern tip of what is known as Bakauheni, which is, I think, near the Lampung district. It's 2,800 over kilometers. That is, if my memory is correct, that I think is about 3.5 times longer than the entire West Malaysia. And it's going to be completed. Can you imagine when Indonesia has that kind of connectivity, the improvement in productivity, the untapped resources that will be now realized, put into good use? We talked to an Indonesian company. He says, you know, for them, they have a plant in southern Sumatra. For them to ship their product from southern Sumatra to Medan, it's more expensive. Southern Sumatra and Medan are on the same island, so it's more expensive, and it takes longer than for the company to ship their product from West Jakarta to Medan, because the infrastructure in Sumatra is still lagging. So when you have things like the Trans-Sumatra toll road is completed, it changes the game altogether. And then there's also the Trans-Sumatra Railway and so on and so forth. And then, of course, you have the new capital, Nusantara, right, which is going to be launched next year. It's really progressing pretty well, but that's just the first phase. So I think, barring unforeseen circumstances, I think the crucial thing is the 2024 election. They can have 2 rounds. If the first round does not produce a decisive result, then they need a second round. But they can only have 2 rounds. So when Indonesia gets to have the next effective president, that will be for the next 5 to 10 years. And then, by then, Indonesia would have enjoyed 30 years of political stability, right? All they need is that political stability, and then the huge hidden potential of Indonesia will be unleashed. And when that is unleashed, I think it will not be too far-fetched that 10, 15 years from now, we Malaysians might want to come to Indonesia to look for work. I am looking for joint venture to set up fund management operations in Jakarta in Indonesia. I've been looking for it for the last 2 years. If any one of you has got people who can connect with us, we're more than happy. We're more than happy to talk to them and set up our fund management business in Indonesia. So that's my take, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you find it useful. And if you have any other topics, comments that you'd like us to discuss in our live sessions, because we could talk about investment. Last week we talked about why I respect Charlie Munger more than I respect Warren Buffett, and of course there were 2 or 3 comments that were made that was totally stupid, which I don't know why such comments are allowed or made in the first place. And I travel a bit, I travel quite a fair bit, and I go to different places and so on. And I'm an observer of many things: Malaysian political situation, US-China situation, Chinese economy, US economy. So if you have topics that you want us to talk about, let us know. Let us know. And more importantly, like us, like our social media, share. Whatever you think is useful, share with people that you know. That is one way of allowing us to spread objective reporting, objective analysis to more and more people, which will make the world a better place. So thank you very much. It's now about getting close to about 6 o'clock Jakarta time, getting close to dinner time. And yeah, there are a lot of wonderful restaurants, very creative restaurants in Jakarta. With that, have a good weekend. Bye-bye.